Hello, welcome back to the ministry. And here is today's message. Okay, I'm going to start by saying that this is not a word for the lighthearted. This is a word for the mature because you gotta be mature to take what I'm about to say and fully digest it. Okay, this is not a milk type word. This is a meat type word because this takes self evaluation. Okay, and not a lot of people are willing to do that because this is deep. And what are we talking about? Forgiveness. Would you be willing? So I'm coming back with the second part of the SVU episode, okay? So it was SVU and then it went into organized crime. This event occurred towards the end of organized crime episode. So you have the team that was working the case that started on SVU side, and the guys standing there, they're at a location, right? And they're trying to capture this young man, right? So they just happen to be talking amongst each other because one set of the team is over here, the other set of the team's over there. And he's talking with his guy friend who's he's another part of the team. And he's saying, oh man, once I'm done with this, I'm about to go take a vacation for 2 weeks and go get on this train. This train gonna take me from here to over there. Catch that in the spirit right there, that he was about to take a trip and it was going to take him to a destination and he was going to be able to relax when he got there. And he was going to be able to relax along the way there, right? You want me to address that, God? Because I hear myself saying it. The journey's been hard for your God ordained spouse. This is just a side note. And they can't wait to that moment when they get to a point of rest that they can coast in the part of the journey. Okay? And just enjoy the view. I believe we all are right there. If you won't be completely honest, we all are right there. That's the side note that the Lord gave me for that, since I brought it up in here. Now, catch what happens to this guy. Now, we are taking it out of context, the kingdom marriage, and we're just talking about the general aspect of this. Now, you're like, what do you mean by that? You said forgiveness, and what would we do? I'm about to get there. So they have to go outside because they heard a gunshot. When they go outside, they're armed and ready to go. Now, I'm sitting there watching this scene transpire, and I'm like, don't none of y'all got no helmets on. Ain't none of y'all got nothing to protect your neck and head. You knew this guy was, like, the person was crazy. So I'm like, you knew this, but you didn't cover yourselves. So they just watching to cover each other's back from what they can see. But they can't see this attack coming. That's a word right in itself. They heard the shot, it was a warning, but they can't see where it's coming from. But they're alerted that they need to be on guard. Some of you need to be on guard because your rescue is coming. You got a warning shot. Some of y'all, the Lord has already shown you something breaking down in either your life or somebody associated with you as a warning shockwave. That was the warning shot. The next one is going to be the boom. Okay? That was another side note. Now coming to the point. The guy that had just been talking about what he was going to do when he got to take his vacation. Sometimes when you watch these shows, it's like, oh, you the one that's going to die. I'm just that person. Because as soon as you hear that, it's like, that was your parting remarks. Because now you're going to pass away. Because anytime they are thinking too far ahead, or they have a good positive plan, that's the person that usually ends up dying. Tell me I'm lying on these shows. Tell me I'm lying. So, here we go. They're in the midst of the shootout, and this guy gets hit. You see him. You see the ricochet. It hits him in the neck. He go down. The guy that was with him, he immediately jumped to cover him and grabbed the place on his neck that was bleeding. One, when you are unforgiving of a person, you're going to bleed all over the place. Oh, you didn't expect me to say that, did you? You realize that if you are unhealed of forgiveness towards somebody, you're going to bleed all over the place. Now, his partner took his hand and held his neck to keep him from bleeding all over the place. Because he knew that that wound, if he didn't stop the bleeding, the artery that was hit could cause him to bleed out and die right there. Some of y'all got unhealed wounds in relation to forgiveness that you bleeding out. You don't know you're bleeding out. I'm hearing something in the spirit right now. Some people, let me say the scripture first. Man's heart will fail him, is what I'm hearing. Some people will walk around unknowingly with a heart issue. And when it hits them, it's so out of the blue that when they said, or when they, either before, when it was caught, meaning they went to a doctor and the doctor managed to catch it, it's like you were a walking dead person, meaning you literally were coming to a place that when, or if you didn't deal with this thing or get alerted to the fact that it was there, you were going to walk right into death, bleed out and die. And it was going to take you out suddenly because of the fact that your level of unforgiveness. What have we always heard about forgiveness, right? It's always said that when it comes to forgiveness, if you don't forgive, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I've also heard that you will bleed all over people otherwise. Because your bitterness, your anger, your resentment, whatever you're holding into, that's leaking. Just like that blood was coming out his neck. Now here is the monkey wrench, okay? If you aren't already listening. They trying to track this guy. The guy that did this, they did catch him, but he was so out of it. He got a legion of demons, let's just be honest. And he was living in a fake world, okay, in his mind. And he was like, he was going to, he wanted to do murder by suicide. Remember, I told you in the previous word, and this is going to be an extension of that. A person that is suicidal is usually homicidal. This guy tried to commit suicide in the first part of it, but he now was trying to get killed by the cops, okay? They refused to kill him, so he took the sword and stabbed himself with it all the way through and through, okay? And when he did that, he was laying there bleeding. So this is the issue, okay? They're out on the field. They needed to call a medic. The medic was there, ready, but they had to get to them. The police officer is calling for the medic. At the same time, they just put in a call saying they caught the guy, but he needs a medic now because he done stabbed himself, right? So the medic shows up and arrives to the police officer first. So his partner thinks, okay, the medic's here. I'm going to help the medic as much as I can, and we're going to get him out of here. Cool. But the guy tells them, I can't feel my legs. And they knew that they needed to get that medic. And they're hearing over their earpieces, we need a medic for the other guy. We need a medic for the other guy. He hears it. And now the partner's sitting there like, and most people would, in a scenario like this, yo, forget him. He the one that done caused all this problem. We gonna sit here with you. You know what the guy does that's bleeding all over the place? The only thing that's preventing him from bleeding all over the place is the hand of his partner. The guy says, the medic had the hand on the wound to hold him in place and was going to take the steps to stop the bleeding. And he grabs the medic's arm and says, go help him. I'm going to pause right there. Let me explain to you what just happened, in case you did not get it. This guy, from the first part of the episode to the second part of the episode, this guy, they've been tracking him for a couple episodes by now. This guy had killed or caused people to kill, rape, murder, doing all this kind of stuff. Did all of that. Most people in this moment right here, the partner's standing there or sitting there holding his neck, and he says, go help him. He literally grabs their hand and says, to push them off, go help him. Now, if they didn't go and help the other guy, if he died, the server for what was causing the murders to occur would not have been able to be shut down because he was the only person, meaning the actual person that was laying there that was dying of the stomach wound that he inflicted on himself. He was the only person that could shut down that website. But in that moment, take the position of the cop holding his neck, take the position of other people towards this guy. Old dude done stabbed himself. He was dying. Some of you would literally have taken in that position. You'd have been like, he's dying. He done had a bunch of people got murdered, assaulted, all kinds of things. In one of the previous episodes, this same guy caused the person to have his head decapitated. This guy. Some of y'all would have been wincing and said, I don't think I could let you live in this moment. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Tell the truth and shame the devil. Okay, I'm about to give you two different scenarios. I'm going to give you the word first. Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm going to give you the word. Okay, I'm reading directly from the word. Solomon's choice of wisdom. In Gibbethon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask, what shall I give thee?" And Solomon said in haste, "Shrewd unto thy servant David the great mercy." Okay, that's not the one I wanted. Where is it? Hold on. Okay, I see it. It's a little bit lower in this scripture, but okay, Solomon is king at this particular point, and in 3:16. It came two women, and they were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one woman said, "O my lord," and this woman dwelled in one house and was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the third day after I was delivered that the woman was delivered also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we two in the house. And the woman was no stranger with us. Okay. And the woman's child died in the night because she overlaid it, and she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me while thine handmaid slept, and laid her in my bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I rose in the morning to give my child suckle, behold, it was dead. But when I considered it this morning, behold, it was not my son which I bare. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus spake before the king. Then said the king, the one saith, This is my son that is living, and thy son that is dead. And the other saith, Nay, but thy son is dead, and my son is living. And the king said, Bring me the sword. And they brought the sword before the king. And the king said, Divide the living child in two, and give the halves 1/2 to each of them. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son, and she said, "O my Lord, give her the living child, and in the wise slay." Okay, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, "Let it be neither mine nor thine, but divided. But divided." Then the king answered and said, "Give her the child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother." What am I saying? Some of y'all in this situation, let's just have a moment. Which woman are you? Which woman are you? You're dying. You keep the medic on you and allow the kid to die? Which woman does that sound like? Oh, just take the kid, slay it. Or are you the person that says, tell the medic to go. Let the medic go save the other person. You're already paralyzed in the process. Who are you? Everybody else around you would probably be like, excuse me, this is the crazy person. What you mean? Cut your child in half. What you mean? What we doing out here? Cut your child in half. What we doing out here? But the humble person says, no. Send the medic that's on me to go tend to that person. You are laying there dying. Some of y'all wouldn't have done that. Some of the people around you would have been like, excuse me? It takes a level of maturity to think ahead, to think beyond yourself, to think, okay, in such a way that brings about a level of, could I do that? All right, you want the other scenario now? Some of y'all have been getting hit with witchcraft left and right. It's been hitting your family. It's been hitting the people around you. It's been hitting you. You've been getting darts. You've been getting arrows. You've been getting all kinds of weird spiritual attacks. You know you done got confirmation that it was witchcraft being sent at you. Just like they got confirmation of all these murders that was happening and this one person was doing. Let me make it a little bit more intimate for y'all. For y'all, some of you, it's the counterfeit. Counterfeit's been sending witchcraft at you. Counterfeit's been sending witchcraft at your spouse. Counterfeit's been doing all of this. They done hired sorcerers, pandits, all kinds of people to try to put all kinds of stuff on you. All kinds of stuff on you. But it's between, in this moment, them, meaning God has the ability to remove them out that situation. God also has the ability, you are paralyzed at the gate of your promise. You right there and you paralyzed. You right there. What would you do? Would you tell the Lord? I don't care as long as she don't get them. Remove that person. Nah. That person that did all this to me, and you think I'm going to allow them? Nah, remove them. Nah, God, take them out. Nah, God. Nah, God. Nah. Or would you have done this? I'm okay. I may be paralyzed at the gate. Let me help you a little bit more with this. Let me help you if you haven't figured out where we're going with this. There's a level of maturity that you have to be in, because a lot of Christians have said this, and some of you got stung just at the thought of this. This scares you. You would never say it, but God knows this scares you. Scares Jesus out of you. God does not owe you anything. With all that he has already done for you, if you never saw the promised land, would you still give God the praise and be thankful to him? You're paralyzed. You can't get through. You can't get to the promise. You can't get there. But would you be humble enough to forgive the witch that sent all these attacks at you? All of them. Your family did all this stuff. The sorcerers, they done paid people. They done did all of this. Would you send God to them and tell them, God, go help them? Prophetic Encouragement did a video the week of resurrection, and she asked us a question. Some of y'all need to pray for the counterfeit. Yeah, that counterfeit that was sending witchcraft at you. Yeah, from a humble place. Because some of y'all, if you had to pray for the counterfeit, you would pray death over them. How many times have you heard me come on here and say that I pray they renounce, denounce, come out of alignment, come out of agreement, repent, get on their knees, do what they need to do? Some of y'all wouldn't even pray that. Some of y'all wouldn't even pray that. And what if that is the difference between you making it in the promised land or not? Would you send the medic to go help them? Would you send God, who is the ultimate spiritual hospital, to go tend to them? And you're stuck at the gate. Let's go into the scriptures about it, shall we? But before I say that, I'm going to say this. Some of y'all would not do it, and some of y'all would curse God before you die if you had the ability not to see the promised land. But wait, Moses didn't get a chance to see. I remember looking at Bible Project, and they did a little animated video of Moses' story of Moses going up the mountain and looking and overseeing the promised land, right? He's overseeing it. And as he's overseeing it, we don't know how long it took Moses to die up there. We don't. But imagine your last vision of your promised land is from the outside of it. Okay, how about this? Elijah. He done slayed 400 to 800 prophets. He done ran and outran a chariot. He is now hiding under a bush, seeking rest. And what does he ask God? Let me make it a little bit clearer for you, bringing it back to the episode, okay? The medics get him back to the hospital. They do the surgery. When the surgery is completed, we find out that he's paralyzed completely. Not just paralyzed from the waist down. He's paralyzed from the neck down. Because remember, he couldn't feel his legs. That didn't mean he couldn't feel the rest of his body, right? But we find out now he paralyzed down to the point that he needs a breathing apparatus. It's a box they put on his neck that literally had a button on it that you could switch on or off. And it said, and he was telling you that the only reason that he was even able to breathe is that machine keeps his airway in such a way that it will mechanically tell his throat to open and close, to breathe, forcing him to breathe. That's the only way he could breathe. So now he just literally is a talking head. That's all he got. So he asks his partner now, take me out of here. Turn it off. And his partner's like, no, you just been through a lot today. You don't want to do that. And he's like, turn it off. Let's go back to Elijah. Elijah done been through. He done killed all these prophets. God done got the victory in this moment. He laying there underneath a tree, underneath a bushel, because he tired. God, take me up, is what he says. God, take me up, is what he says. Now, somebody say, this guy had the right to feel that way. I'm going to come right back.